I want to talk about using my old school pocket knife, a Schrade Uncle Henry Bear Paw, as a potential improvised weapon for self-defense. This is definitely not the best knife for self-defense. It's very, very hard to open under pressure. These blade pinch openings are hard to do, and if you're in a panic state, you're pretty likely that you'll probably throw the knife away if you try doing that. There's no thumb stud, there's no blade hole or other one-handed opening aid. Also, most of these knives are quite stiff to open, so getting them out quickly and getting the blade out quickly is very hard to do. Most people require 2 hands to open one of these knives. Not everybody can open it one-handed, and very few can open it one-handed safely without taking a big chance on dropping it. The scales are very smooth and slippery if it gets wet, which in a combat situation it is very likely to do. So it doesn't have a good grippy surface, which is important in a tactical knife. You'll be forced to maybe hold it in reverse grip with the thumb over the back of the knife to keep it in place. But it does have a fairly thick grip, which helps somewhat with security. For the most part, these knives are not very good as a tactical folder. However, there are some really good reasons to carry a knife like this. First of all, it is a recognizable tool as opposed to a weapon. It doesn't look threatening to the general public. It's socially acceptable, and quite honestly, you can wear one of these types of knives openly on a belt. You can go about your business. Two things. One, if you're carrying it on a belt in the open, you cannot be accused of carrying a hidden knife. It's there for everybody to see. And because it's a socially acceptable knife and most people don't feel threatened by it, you can wear it places where, anywhere you go usually. Of course, there may be some exceptions. Some bars might stop you from carrying it in there, and other places that are non-permissive. But for the most part, nobody would blink an eye if you walked into the library or the bank or the mall with one of these on your hips. Do that with an 8-inch Bowie knife and you may have a problem. So because it's a small folding knife that is recognized as an outdoorsman's tool, as a good old boy's tool, this is a knife that has endured a lot of time and has become an endeared part of our social structure here in the small town that I live in, and many small towns around the world. If you were to use it, if you were to pull it out in an emergency situation, most likely you'd be using it as a strike enhancer, because getting it open quickly is really hard. Unless you saw trouble coming and you managed to get it open, you may be able to access it that way. But for the most part, if you don't know what level of force you're going to be facing and you pull a blade when it's not appropriate, you can up the level of force and you can definitely create worse consequences for your actions after the use of force event is over. Getting it out under pressure unopened is actually quite easy. open the snap. If you keep it in the same place on your belt, it's quite easy to get it out and use it as a impact weapon. And it is excellent in that capacity. It is a heavy knife with brass fittings. So if you're hitting bony structures like the collarbone or the temple, the orbital socket, the jaw, it'll break teeth. It will cause damage. And if you're careful, you can cause the kind of damage that is disabling rather than lethal force. Hitting into the jaw, into the nose, into the eyes, and into the collarbones, the wrist if it's available. If you're struggling and you can smash the hand with it, you can do a lot to cause damage to the small bones. Of course, these are all secondary targets. Your primary targets would be the eyes and the throat with the strike enhancer. And with one this heavy, the jawline might elicit a knockout. However, as always, your goal in a use of force situation as a private citizen is to get to safety. It's not to defeat your attacker, it's to find an opportunity to escape and get to safety. So these kinds of strike enhancers are pretty good to help you do that. The other thing that I really love about this is it doesn't have, that tactical look that other knives have. What that means is if you have to defend yourself in court, it may look a little better for you because there are a ton of other knives on the market that are easier to get out under pressure, that are built for that purpose, that are built to be used in a worst case scenario, get out in a worst case scenario, and stay in your hand better. They have so many more advantages in the fight than this knife. But as a martial artist, as a self-defense person, as somebody who wants to protect themselves, remember, you're also protecting yourself to the consequences. And this is a very, very good tool. It is a good knife to carry on a daily basis as a tool for opening packages, cutting material, and just doing general chores. It is a great knife. And the old school leather sheath is just beautiful. It's very nice looking. It's a very nice looking knife. And I gotta tell you, it is something that I find very nostalgic. This knife takes me back to my childhood. It reminds me of men that I used to know as a kid who I looked up to and admired, men who were outdoorsmen. And it just brings me back to a much simpler time. It is a beautiful piece of cutlery history, and I love carrying mine because it's been in my possession for a long time, and I've had many adventures with it, and it's gone with me many places. I love that knife, and if I need it, it'll serve me well.